What's up everyone, welcome back to another Profound Studios tutorial, and today I'm going to show you guys 3 tips on how to get your tech house drums to smack in your mix. Now what I mean by that is, there's artists out there like, you got Michael Bibi, Pawsa, the Solid Grooves label. A lot of their releases have that really tight, crisp sounding drums. Quite of a short sustain. They just sound really tight in the mix, and I'm going to show you guys 3 tips on how you can achieve that in your tracks using only stock plugins. So yeah, it's actually quite simple, but these are really cool tips for tech house in general, all types of house music. So stick around and let's get stuck into it. Okay, so here we are in my FL studio. I've prepared just a short loop for the purpose of this tutorial. So let's just have a little quick listen to what the loop sounds like after all the processing and everything. So that is the after all the processing and everything. So first things first, I'm going to show you the number 1 tip, which is I recommend distorting your kick if you're after that, a kick that really kind of smacks, hits hard in your mix. You can add just a simple distortion, which here. So I'll turn off all the so I've got a distortion, I've got an EQ, and then I've got a compressor just to tame that sound a little bit. So I'm going to turn it all off, and we can listen to the kick. Turn those off, and now I'll have a listen. So it's not a bad kick, but it can do with a bit more punch. So let's turn all these on. You can see straight away it's a lot more in your face, a lot more thicker, it's more punchy. So I should mention, by the way, that the sounds we're using in this tutorial are all in our new range of packs, Tech House Essentials Volume 2. So you can head over to our website in the description below if you like what you hear, and the pack is currently 40% off, so I just thought I'll let you guys quickly know that. But anyway, back to the tutorial. So what I've done, we'll start from the start. I've got this Fruity Blood Overdrive here. Now, as it's a stock plugin, we're using all stock FL plugins today. So what I did was I just went over to the presets, and I think it was Boost. Yeah, it was Boost, and then just kind of toyed around a little bit. That's a bit too much. Let me turn off the compressor and EQ. So that's with it on, that's without. So that's giving that extra punch. Now EQ, we'll turn that on, and what I did was just gave it a little bit of a boost in the low mid section, as well as in the about 16 hertz range, 16,000 hertz, 1600, sorry, not 1000, 1600 hertz range. Just a slight, just give it a little bit more punch. The top end sounds pretty good already, so we don't need to. You could add a little bit more punch here if you wanted to, but that's totally up to you. Depends on your kick drum, of course. Now let's go over to our compressor. We'll turn that on. It's a bit too much at the moment. It's a bit too, it's redlining for a start, so that's not good. So we'll just turn our compressor on. We'll have the ratio is 4.0 by 1, and we'll just go to our short attack. We're going to have about a 200 millisecond release, and then I'll adjust the gain just a taste. As I said, it depends on your kick drum. I'm going to go about -4 decibels. And that's your kick. That's how you've gone from, you've got this now, as opposed to what you had beforehand. So it's a much stronger, it's a much thicker sounding kick. And as you all know, the kick can really make or break the track. So it's a really useful tip. That's our tip number 1. Now number 2 is for if you're making tech house like Michael Bibi or Pawsa, or you want to sign a track to the Solid Grooves label or something like that. A lot of their drums, they use a short sustain, and what how to achieve this is you can use a plugin in FL called the Transient Processor. Now it's depending on the version of FL you have, it is free, but yeah. So just to show you the drums specifically, I've got an open hat here. Let me turn off Maximus as well for a second. We'll go to that part of the tutorial later, but let me turn off all of the effects. That's the open hat right now. So as you can see, it's got quite a long sustain. And now see, it's much shorter and punchier with my transient processor. Now what I've done here is I've just turned up the attack slightly, just to give it a bit more punch, and then the release. So that's with the normal sustain of the sample. And if I turn the release up, you can see the sound gets much longer, the sustain increases. But if I turn it down, it goes from the stock sound to, let's just shorten a little bit. Just turning it down to about around there, I reckon. See, that's quite a bit, it's a bit too short. You can hear, see, that's a lot more punchy now. It's taken away that sustain. A lot more punchy. And now we can do the same with the clap. So that we'll turn it, this is what the clap sounds like beforehand. It's quite a short clap already, but we want it a little bit more crisp. A little bit more, you know, how do I word it? I guess a short sustain, you know, and a bit more crisp, a bit more sharp. So what we'll do, let's just turn all this on again. Let's just play around with it. Again, we'll turn the attack up a bit just to make it stand out a little bit more. And we'll turn the release down to about there, as opposed to having that. It's a subtle difference, whereas if you turn the release up, you hear the reverb coming through a lot more, the clap's more, I guess, thick, with a long sustain. So we're going to turn it down to about here. You can hear the difference straight away. Now we play the loop. It's very sharp, very crisp sounding drums already. So yeah, I recommend using the Transient Processor plugin, not just for that particular style of tech house, any production. It's quite helpful just to shape your drums a bit more if you're you know, if you're working with something that, you know, you want to adjust a little bit. Now the last step that I'll show you guys, which is this plugin here, we're going to add some saturation. And what that's going to do, we'll listen to the loop again without the saturation. It doesn't sound too bad, but it could use a little bit more. So what I've done is I've routed these sounds here to a drum bus. And how you do that is you just right click here and you would click route to this track, or route to this track only. And yeah, you would just then open your Maximus, which is another stock FL plugin. We'll turn this back on, just listen to the difference. See, the drums are a lot more in your face, very crisp sounding. It's kind of like the finishing touch really on this sort of, on your drum, sorry. Now, what I did here is I went to, there's a lot of good presets here. Don't be afraid to start with presets just to kind of get a starting point, you know, get the ball rolling. So I went to the Punchy Drums preset. Let's just click that. And that's not too bad already, but it's a little bit too much in my opinion. So what I did, now the beauty of this plugin is that you can solo all of the bands, so you low frequencies. So it's, for example, I click solo with the highs selected. It'll give you the high frequencies, and then select mid, it'll give you the mids. Now what that. We'll go over to our mids. Low end. Well, our drums don't really have any low end, do they? So yeah, we leave that, and then go back to the master, click solo, and if you want to turn down what we've done a little bit, it is a little bit too much. I mean, again, this is just to taste, you know, every track's different. Just gonna turn that down just a touch. Okay, I think that sounds pretty good. So now, let's listen again without everything that we've done. We're going to turn it all off. We'll have a listen to what this sounds like. It sounds very dull, doesn't it? It sounds very, you know, it sounds like you've just slapped samples in and hope for the best. Whereas with all these effects, you know, with your distortion, with your saturation, with your, you know, transient processor, you know, sounds a lot more full. The drums are a lot more crisp. It's a lot more professional sounding, really, you know. Now, I'm not sure how certain producers would do it, but I think this is a great way to achieve drums that, you know, really smack hard, sit well in your mix. They sound crisp, professional, and yeah, that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you learnt something. I hope this really helps your productions. You know, let me know in the comments what you want to see next, what you want me to maybe recreate or show you guys. You know, don't be afraid to, yeah, drop a comment below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do subscribe. It helps, you know, with the algorithms and everything. It helps the videos, you know, reach more people. So please do drop a like, you know, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.